Well, happy Saturday. I hope it's going well today. Chris Hare, the world champion crypto cowboy here. I am a multi-time world champion team roper, and I'm taking those experiences and those things that I've learned in the practice pen and the rodeo arena to crypto to make you guys world champion crypto trainers. So I thought we'd do a video on XRP today. It's been a while since we've recovered it. It's took a pretty hard hit on that dip, especially last Friday. Huge wick all the way down. I think the market makers were just going after absolutely everyone that was long on it and just wiped them all out. But I don't think the run's over. I think there might be hope. So we're going to break it down today and give you an idea of what's going on. All right, we're going to start off with the crypto fear and greed index. Currently at 25. We're in fear, guys. And what I can tell you is that every time we go into fear, there's a big run that follows. So if you're looking at spot purchases, this might be a good place to buy. I would trickle in. I hold a lot of XRP. My average is around 50 cents, so I'm really considering buying some at these prices. We'll talk about upside potential and other things in as we get into this video, kind of figure out where we're going. I really don't think the move is done, but I really think you're going to have an opportunity to buy XRP at some substantial low cost. On sale, guys, blue light special. But you can see every time we drop down into fear, we have these big pumps out. We drop down to extreme fear back in April, back in the spring of this year, and absolutely launched. So here we are back in fear, one of the biggest fear drops that we've had since go back to 2023. So history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, guys. I think there's an opportunity here. How much upside is yet to be determined. We're really going to have to wait to figure out where we bottom out. But I think there's an opportunity here. We go over to an altcoin season index. It's clearly not XRP to shine time to shine right now. We are dead set in a Bitcoin season, and whatever Bitcoin does, altcoins are going to follow. As Bitcoin rises, altcoins will rise a little bit, but when Bitcoin dumps, altcoins are going to absolutely tank, and we've seen that over the past 7 days. It's been bloody. It's been awful, but hopefully we're finding some kind of end to this. Like I said, we'll break down that chart. You go to a liquidation heat map. We're going to go on out to a weekly here because there's just not a lot of liquidations to see. Rainy day here in Texas. Got about an inch of rain this morning. Had a lot of plans outside. Going to get a lot of things done, but now I'm in the shop. Going to build some spurs later. But anyway, here we go. XRP liquidation heat map. Get this load up one more time. And there you go. You see we've got some big pockets of liquidity coming down, especially right around here, about right around 220, 230. There's not a lot left to the upside, so that's going to raise some flags for me. There is a pocket right here, about 235, 240. Liquidations to the upside, probably about 2.2 billion. Bottom side, we're about 30. So there's more. There's still some up here. I think there's more to the downside. So eventually, I think market makers are going to want to come after that. That's what this heat map shows. It shows you where everyone that's long is. All of these lines are liquidations to the long side. All of these lines are liquidations to the short side. So there's just a little bit of shorts left before I think they kind of want to run after that in the short term. But let's get into the charts. Let's get a real understanding of what's going on with this. I'm going to start off with the weekly because I think it's relevant. We really can't figure out what's going on the smaller time frames unless we know where the weekly is. So you can see where XRP was a stable coin. Basically, we traveled around 53 cents for well over a year. It was just, I kept buying. I kept having conviction that one day it would pop off, and it did. Trump was elected president, and the markets went absolutely nuts. We topped out here at around 371, which was a nice price for XRP. I took a little bit of profit off of this. I at least got my initials out. Still sitting in all my profit. It's kind of a free ride for me right now. But I went ahead and left smart money concepts on because these are fair value gaps. And fair value gaps work alongside this 50 moving average, and this 200 moving average is another confluence of strong support. So what you can see is, I think we have a little more downside left. Market makers like to fill out about 70% of these wicks. Typically, that puts us in a range of about 161 to $1.03. Now, the 50 moving average on the weekly, that takes 50 of these candles and puts a fluid line on the chart that creates support and resistance for us. It comes in here right about $1.80 right now. So we kind of got to consider that for a bounce point. If we lose that, That's why I say this weekly golden zone may work out, because the 200's here, and that's around $1.07. Now, these moves to the downside can take weeks to months. On a weekly chart, it's a little bigger. But what I did want to bring to your attention is the stochastic RSI is getting into oversold. And you can see right at the very bottom, it's starting to tighten up. Typically, when those things in a bull run start tightening up just a little bit, you can see they start rolling in, and then they roll up to the upside. So I think there's hope. Like I said, it could take a few weeks to a couple of weeks to play out. But you can see the last time we hit oversold and it really started rolling up, we made that massive move. So I don't want to rule XRP out yet. But what we need to wait to figure out where we're going to the upside is we need a solid bottom where I can pull a Fibonacci from swing high to swing low, and then we'll get a better understanding of topside targets. But I think there's a trend line here, and I've talked about this in my nightly video last night on Bitcoin, and I even mentioned it on Caspa, that these moves really like to respect these expanding wedges. If this was a tightening pennant, which we kind of had here and we're falling out of, if we were at the very end of a pennant out here, I'd say, look, I think we're probably getting close to the end. But we can come all the way down to around 96 cents and still be bullish. That puts us in that value gap. It puts us above the 200. It puts us above the 786 at $1. So that's where I'm at with that. But let's break down this move to the downside. Let's figure out exactly what's going on. I'm going to pull this up on a daily chart right here. Had it ready for you guys. So yeah, so we've been in a correction. It's an ABC correction that gets into Elliott wave theory, and I'm not going to go into it too much because it gets pretty technical, and that's another conversation. But you can see that 50 moving average that we talked about, we lost it. I've got a red line on my chart that I use because as you go across multiple time frames, I always know where it is. And I think it's critical to know, because if we're below the 50, we're bearish. And if we're above the daily 50, bullish. So we're clearly bearish right now. But what you can see is we've dropped down into this daily golden zone. The 200 moving average has worked as support for now. We've retested the top side of this at about 238, 239, and we're getting rejected. I would wait. If I was going to trade this, I'd wait for a rejection below this 200 on the daily, and then I would short it, talking about our lower week target. If we go out to a 4-hour, I'm going to break it down for you a little better. We've got some topside targets marked here just in case we do decide to run up. I'm not optimistic at a close above the 4-hour 200 right now. I think we're going to come down and try to at least get 197 to 165 first. You can see we've rejected this first target that I had in mind, and we're starting to work our way down. So I think this move might be done. There's still a possibility, because you can see if I draw this on here, I just noticed this right now, that we're beginning the early stages of breaking out parallel here. And what happens when you break out of these parallel channels is that that's typically a bullish sign. Sometimes they go, and I'll show you how you measure this and figure out where you're going. You take a line, you measure from the top of that move, bottom of that move channel, and then you can take this line over, put it over right where you broke out, and you can see our target. Looks like we might hit up around this red fair value gap at around 278, 279. Sometimes these like to only fill out about half. So keep that in mind. That would put us in this 786, unless we just go back into this channel. And when you do that, you just go to the bottom 90% of the time. So that would justify the means of what we're thinking. But yeah, that gives you a really good idea on XRP. I hope that makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate you guys watching the video. If you have any questions or anything in mind, don't hesitate to reach out. If you have opinions other than mine, I'd want to say, let me have them. I want to hear them. Put it in my comments below. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down. I'll go back and look if you think it's absolutely wrong. I sure don't mind doing that. But yeah, when you're trading these things, keep your leverage low. Stop loss is tight. Do not trade without a stop loss. And I tell people, when you take a trade, have a good idea of where it's going. Don't open one just because you think you've caught a bottom and it's just going to rocket off. That's not always the case, guys. But I'm going to wrap this up. I've said enough already. I'm Chris Hare, the Crypto Cowboy. Go ahead and like, subscribe, tap that bell notification. You'll find links to my X, to a sweet deal on trading on BitUnex. You'll also find a link to the Crypto School, where I keep all of these charts posted. But I'm going to wrap it up right here. Chris Hare, the Crypto Cowboy. See you down the road.